Mr. Kawamura, the conflict over exporting cutting-edge AI chips to China is escalating dramatically within the U.S. government and Congress, isn't it? Especially the faction pushing for stricter controls. I sense a strong sense of anger and crisis emanating from them, going beyond calm debate. Why are they so determined to block these chip exports to China?
Ah, Rika, this is no longer about short-term corporate profits. They are shouting that national security and the maintenance of democratic values must take absolute precedence over temporary corporate gains. The prevailing sense is that the country that dominates chips will dominate the future. Experts like Chris Miller, an associate professor at Tufts University and author of Chip War, have expressed strong concern, saying that is the worrying point regarding the decision to allow more AI chip exports to China.
I see. Specifically, who are the key people pushing for this regulatory tightening? Please name them and their affiliations.
This regulatory faction is moving in a bipartisan manner with several key players. First, there are Senator Pete Ricketts, a Republican, and Senator Chris Coons, a Democrat. They introduced the Safe Chips Act, which aims to prohibit export licenses for cutting-edge AI chips like NVIDIA's Blackwell and H200 to China and Russia for 30 months, about 2.5 years.
So it's bipartisan. From the Democratic side, Senator Elizabeth Warren also gave a fierce speech opposing the Trump administration's approval of the H200 chip sale to China.
Absolutely. She blasted the approval, declaring because under the Trump administration, it's all about the money. She even revealed that NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, understanding that ingratiating himself with Trump was the most important skill for a CEO, attended a dinner with Trump that cost $1 million a plate. $1 million a plate. The fact that such flagrant collusion occurred just to sell chips, it's too ridiculous to even laugh about. Warren also stated that the Guaranteeing Access and Innovation for National AI Act, or GAIN Act, she and Senator Banks introduced, would prohibit NVIDIA from exporting these advanced chips to China.
And what is the fundamental security argument for denying China access to these chips? Will supplying them to China endanger U.S. defense?
Yes, absolutely. The Hardliners believe these chips directly contribute to strengthening Chinese military capabilities. Even the Justice Department under the previous administration called these chips the foundation for superiority in AI and essential to modern military applications. Since AI will be the central nervous system of future military systems, exporting cutting-edge chips poses a serious threat to national security. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Texas stated, "The country that dominates these chips will dominate AI technology, and the country that dominates AI technology will dominate the future."
So the Department of Defense is deeply concerned about military use. And will sending chips to China support China's AI efforts?
Yes, that's another core argument. Miller stresses that AI chips are one of the few strategic products the U.S. can exclusively manufacture. Currently, the U.S. maintains an overwhelming lead in AI chip production. Therefore, selling them risks injecting vitality to the Chinese AI ecosystem. The goal is to inhibit China's AI progress, especially since China's AI models are built to contain censorship and provide answers aligned with thought control, posing a risk to democratic values if they become the global standard. This is the issue of value hegemony.
Opponents like NVIDIA argue that if they don't sell, China will only accelerate its move towards self-sufficiency. How do the proponents of regulation refute that?
Miller rejects this logic, calling the idea that China will aim for self-reliance if the U.S. doesn't sell, but will give up if we do, a mistake. China is moving towards self-reliance regardless. Since they are also striving for self-reliance in low-spec chips and other industries, there is absolutely no way that selling a few chips will make Xi Jinping think, well, I guess we don't need to develop our own anymore, Miller asserts. Furthermore, the industry risks allowing the Chinese company Huawei to dominate the market and push its own platform, leading programmers to optimize for Chinese hardware, thereby reinforcing a Chinese standard.
And we've seen evidence that China is desperate for these chips, resorting to smuggling to get them.
Yes, this is why the Hardliners point out that the fact that the chips are wanted even through smuggling proves China's inability to manufacture high-performance chips domestically and its reliance on the U.S. For instance, Chinese AI startup DeepSeek is suspected of smuggling prohibited Blackwell chips, B200, etc., to develop next-generation AI models. The smuggling method involves sending the chips to an approved country, like a data center in Southeast Asia. disassembling them, relabeling them with fake documents as general computer components, and transporting them to China in suitcases or small batches by air for reassembly.
The sheer effort involved in disassembling and reassembling them is astonishing.
Indeed, but U.S. authorities are cracking down. The Department of Justice recently announced Operation Gatekeeper, busting a smuggling network for H200 and H200 chips for China, seizing an estimated $160 million worth of GPUs and apprehending 2 Chinese men. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Texas emphasized the need to firmly prosecute those who threaten America's technological advantage.
So the core belief of the regulatory faction is that the U.S. must maintain its vast technological advantage. U.S. latest GPUs are about 5 times more powerful, and production volume is about 10 times higher than China's, and rigorously enforce export controls, because this advantage is not gained for free.